All right, we're live without a countdown. Thank you to our technical director, Brad Mill, found on the internet under his Twitch. What's your Twitch handle? Never mind. We're going. Quick plug for those in the Chicagoland area that might be interested in looking at machinery and services to help their fabricating companies. We're having the Fabricators Manufacturers and Suppliers event at the Schaumburg Regency Hotel, April 5th. That's a Tuesday. One-day event. We'll have several exhibitors there, and we invite you to get out there. I want to throw that out there before we jump into it. We're doing issue promotion today. I'm joined by Kate Bachman. I'm Dan Davis with the Fabricator Magazine. Kate Bachman, editor of Stamping Journal. And we're going to chat about what's coming up in our March, April issues to give you an idea so that you can pick it up and let us know how much you enjoy the content and maybe even let us know what you'd like to see in the book. So what you got coming in March, April, Kate?
Well, the March, April issue includes a Chicago Auto Show preview and wrap up, actually. It's Auto Show Electrified. It's a pictorial of the many EVs that debuted at the show. 9 legacy automakers revealed their electric vehicles. So if you had any lingering doubts as to whether we are moving into a new era of electrification, that should quell those concerns. They also showcase the usual race car and supercar eye candy. No expectations for them to be electrified soon, however. With the 300,000 plus price tag, so you might expect them to walk on water. Speaking of EVs, one of our more cutting edge articles is pretty interesting. It reveals a novel approach to EV battery protection. As you may know, there is a lot of flux right now in terms of the architecture for the batteries, now that there is no longer an engine, an exhaust system, or transmission. There's a lot of room, and the batteries themselves, have to be protected. So ArcelorMittal developed a kind of a unique approach that is, basically called a battery ring. It is hot stamped out of tailored blank. And it suffices as it actually provides protection for both the battery and also the occupant. So it's kind of an interesting way to approach it. The tailored aspect allows for concentrating the strength and particular material characteristics exactly where they're needed and not where they're not. And then of course the hot stamping allows automakers to produce parts that are lighter out of thinner material, but that thinner material is extremely hard. Strengths even up to 2,000 megapascals.
Yeah, and let's just plug the Stamping and EV conference coming up.
Okay, so you'll be able to learn more about that ring geometry and at the Stamping and EV World Conference, which is June 7th in Plymouth, Michigan at the Inn at St. John's. This particular author of this article, Gagan Tandon, will be one of our speakers, and he'll be able to go into depth in that also. In addition, at the Stamping and EV World Conference, you'll be able to hear an outlook by Darren Gifford of Plant Moran, just really projecting as to what's going to be going on in the industry, as well as Srineth Kistempoli from Martin Ria. He'll be talking about what that Tier 1 is doing in that space and give some insights there. And Mike Austin of Diversified Tooling Group reveals how the company has had developed the tooling for the door for a very well-known EV startup. So lots of interesting things happening at that event. I hope you can join us. Registration is now open, and early bird rates are very, very low. So this is a good time to register. Check it out at Stamping in an EV World, and it's called Stamping in the EV World Conference.
Yeah, so I'll chat about something coming up in Tube and Pipe Journal, some big news there. Yeah, electrification is definitely part of our future, whether those people riding around the Beltway in circles with American flags hanging from their cars know it or not. So, Amanda, what's happening in the March-April issue of the Welder?
Okay, so no electric vehicles. However, a really great look at weld porosity written by Paul Cameron, who was a longtime friend of the magazine. He used to be the columnist for Arc Welding 101 after Marty Rice gave up the column and retired. And he's a good friend of mine. He is a Minnesota Vikings fan, so we have a nice little banter regarding our hatred of the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So he takes an interesting take on weld porosity in that it's not as bad as what you think it is. And I wrote some notes down. Acceptance criteria codes issued by AWS, ASME, and API typically are more forgiving about weld porosity than some of the quality assurance departments in manufacturers. So he just kind of gives you something different to think about, or at least a different perspective about weld porosity.
And he's a CWI too.
Yes.
So
So it's not like some random dude, saying, don't worry about porosity. I mean, he's...
yeah. And so, this is an important piece because this is actually one of the more well-read articles on the Fabricator.com. So it's good for us to update that.
Yeah.
So what else you got? Kind of an interesting story involving a former football player who felt like he needed a... Was he a football player?
Rugby player.
Oh, geez.
And I don't know if he's a former. He might still play.
That's
here
correct.
and there.
Did he have all his teeth?
I don't know.
I don't know if he plays it.
I don't
Go
know.
ahead.
I don't know. But his name is Mike Kaufman. He's from Ontario, Canada. And during the pandemic 2 years ago, Canada was a lot like us at first. I mean, they stayed pretty closed down for a long time after we started opening up. But just like us, non-essential businesses like gyms shut down. And Mike and his wife both are very into fitness and working out and lifting. And he's like, well, I'm a fabricator, I'm a welder, what can I do to address that? So he built himself a squat rack that was small enough, sturdy enough to do the job, but small enough to fit inside his home. And it just kind of turned into a business. Even though he's back to work now for his full-time job with, I think, Concise Custom Metals, he's still doing it on the side. So it just ended up being a really cool pandemic-related story about just figuring out a way through a problem.
And is he actually selling some of these things?
Yeah, so he's only selling them in Canada, unfortunately.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if we wanted some, we would have to probably drive up there and
Yeah,
pick it up.
and
But
you're looking at a panel full of people that love exercise, so I think we know the importance of having our own custom
I feel offended
equipment.
by that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll speak for myself. Yes. So, Tube and Pipe Journal for March 2022 will be a collector's issue. And Eric Lundeen, former editor of the magazine, is no longer with us. He works for a company now that rhymes with P-Tef Papont. You might know it as T.H. Lamont. Tube mill manufacturer. He's helping them out with some sales and marketing. We wish him well in his new endeavor. Before he left us with a pretty timely issue, as I'll get to in a little bit. But the cover story had to do with trends in hydraulic tube production. Part 1 appeared in January, February. Part 2 focused on some actual products that could be considered alternatives to hydraulic tubing that may be hard to source because of supply chain issues. In particular, the point was made that I think there would be tubes J3566A as opposed to the J525. The first could be considered an alternative to the former, which might be hard to find, or the latter, which might be hard to find. The issue comes as the electrification of cars. More people are looking for replacement of tubing to aluminum, hard to bend, and the tubing that's always been specified is also hard to find. So you're getting a situation where they're suggesting alternatives, but these aren't necessarily spec'd in some of these automotive designs. So take a look at that. Wynn Kearns of Indiana Tube actually will be presenting at the Tube and Pipe Memphis, another FMA conference coming up April, what is that date? Oh, it's sometime in early April.
April 11th.
April 11th through 13th. Thanks, Garrett. I forget that. Do we have any questions?
No questions yet.
Yes, I wonder why. We have the second story, which I think kind of ties about in terms of the electrification trend in automotive manufacturing, how electric vehicle manufacturing is affecting tube bending machines. And I think this really ties in with the new generation of designs. I think Lorenzo Salvez of Cleveland Cliffs was the keynote speaker at the FMA annual meeting and giving an overview of the metals industry in North America. This is a company that's responsible for the largest amount of flat rolled steel product in North America. And he basically told the crowd that you're wrong if you think the future is not electric cars. How we get there and what type of electrification technology we're talking about, that's up for debate. But as part of that, other people touched upon how the designs have changed, as you mentioned, Kate, opportunity for tube, maybe to kind of, I know you spoke in a design specifically for the battery, but that something needs to cradle that battery. And it was mentioned that maybe tubing might be able to do that. But there's also other parts of that manufacturing trend which will affect. They're looking for lightweighting, so people moving to more aluminum tubes, as I mentioned earlier, a little bit harder to specify there or bend. So that leads to the story from Brett Zorn of Schwarz Robotech, talking about the need of tube bending machines having to actually evolve to accommodate these new tube requirements. And if there's anything that can be figured out in the fabricating industry, they'll figure out how to do it. But it's just kind of interesting to see this trend tie in with a macro trend of where we're going with vehicle manufacturing in North America, but also globally. So some good content coming up in our publications in March. Anything else to add? One more time, plug for the EV conference.
One more time, registration is open and you can get in on those early bird rates. So just log on to Stamping in an EV World Conference.
Link is in the comments.
Pardon me?
The link is in the comments.
Oh, excellent. And the link is in the comments. And we really hope to see you there. I think it's going to be a really exciting event and more to come on that.
Great. One more note, Amanda Carlson is actually moving on as well, but staying here in between her many her many workout appointments that she has, staying in shape. She'll be taking over duties of copy editor for our publications, and we'll be introducing you to a new editor of the Welder come time about a month and a half from now, maybe. So stay tuned for that big news. So thanks for your time. Any questions out there, Gareth? No, we appreciate you watching the entire time, not just clicking in and leaving. The entire time. Thank you very much and have a good day.